Everybody, this is Perch. I've talked about this a lot before, and there still seems to be some questions about it. So I want to try and kind of lay it out as smoothly as I can. I think I need to bookmark this because I think people ask these questions and they don't know this video exists because I'm publishing 50,000 videos a week. So it's easy to miss. And I think maybe that's the thing. Or somebody can help me with a good clickbaity title like, hey, numbers here. I don't know. Those hey with exclamation marks doesn't really translate like you hoped in the old world of YouTube thumbnails. Anyway, uh, overships and the incentive programs. So, to me this is very obvious. However, I acknowledge and I recognize that you run a shop, you work in a shop, you do orders come in, you live that life for years and years and years, and this becomes very second nature. And so to people who don't run a retail shop or don't do ordering like this, it probably is a little weird. If your experience with ordering is pretty much confined to Amazon, then this is a new concept and it's going to be a little strange. But in general, publishers, what they do is they create incentive programs. Their goal is to get more copies of their comics on your shelves and less copies than others. This is basic competition. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing, that this is what they all should be doing. Every single publisher should be working very, very hard to, get more of their product on the shelves and less than others. Now, people flippantly will say things like, well, they should do that by putting out quality books. And you're not wrong, but it's more than that. There's been plenty of really good quality indies. I mean, some of the best work you've ever seen, and it doesn't get a lot of recognition. Why? Because quality alone doesn't do the job. You have to have quality. You have to have good marketing. You have to have good cover presence. You have to have good programs that give people what they want. I'll give you an example, something just very, very small. If you're ordering a lot of manga directly, i.e., not through Diamond, your cut as a store is higher. You actually get more money. So technically, if you moved your entire store over to nothing but manga, and you're able to sell the same volume, same dollars, you, the retail shop owner, would take home more money because your markup, your percentage, is better than what Diamond gives you. This is one of those little things that people have questioned. I've seen some questions in some of the comments about this, and yes, it is true. Most of the manga, not all, but the majority of manga, the distribution of it, gives you a better percentage. Here's something really crazy, because I know a couple shops do this. If you're able to establish an importer relationship with some companies in Japan, you definitely do have some curveballs in there. You have definitely longer shipping times. You have the likelihood that some of your stuff's going to get wound up in customs, and that's going to be a pain in the ass. It could be a month with no real, word. I mean, if you've ever had something shipped from another country, but in particular Japan, you will notice that it goes into this black hole. Like it's delivered to the, Japanese transit facility, and then like 4 weeks go by and nothing, and then suddenly it's like exiting customs. And it's like, oh, okay, all right, way to go. Sometimes that's taken 2 days. Sometimes I've had it take 3 months. Nobody knows. But regardless of all that, if you're able to put up with all that kind of stuff, generally your cut is way better. I've had success selling models and figures and all that kind of stuff, ordering from some distributors just in Japan, and even paying for the shipping and the import fees and all the rest. It's like a 20% cut better than what you get in the U.S. Why? I don't know. Somebody's marking something up, I guess. But in general, I did this video, and it was no, the publishers don't force you to buy specific titles. And I got some real heat on this. Another YouTuber did a whole video about he's splitting hairs. You still have to order minimum quantities through Diamond. Yes, you do. That's absolutely true. You definitely do. But hopefully everybody understands there's a massive world of difference between saying, hey, I have to spend, $500 a month with Diamond versus I have to buy 20 copies of Captain Marvel. Those are two very, very different things. The first is, and I mean, you can argue, hey, any kind of minimum, money requirement is not, not okay, but that's really normal. It's absolutely normal. Any small business knows this. If you're running a toy shop, if you're running anything, a bookstore, there are minimum order quantities. Now, why do they do this? They do this to kind of, Well, I mean, there's two reasons. One, if they didn't have minimum order quantities and you didn't have business validation, then what's to stop like you, just comic guy, person who wants to get their comics super cheap for paying $25 for a business license, saying, hey, I've got an LLC, I'm a business, Diamond, I'm a retailer now, and I want all those comics at 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 my basic pre markup cost. If there was no minimum order quantity, you could do that. And in fact, I mean, I don't know that I'm talking out of turn. I know some super collectors who have done that. They've created a fake business, for lack of a better word, and they've said, I'm willing to spend $1,000 a month on comics. I'm doing that already because and they basically order for themselves, and then they flip and all the rest. It just doesn't happen a lot, and it's definitely not going to work. I mean, you have to be. Now it's just absurd. I know one guy who's doing this, and it is a complete smoke and mirrors type game because the company is going to check up on you. There are going to be reps to verify that you're a real business. You have to basically lie a lot and keep lying in order to pull this thing off. But regardless, again, this is why you have minimum order quantities to keep out somebody selling like 2 copies of stuff, because the distributor is saying it's not worth my time to set up a business account, ship stuff out, go through all this headache, have somebody in our system. It's not worth my time for somebody who's going to be doing $20 worth of business a month. And that's reasonable. I can't fault for that. There's a million things that I could say I hate about Diamond. That's not one of them. I think that's a perfectly reasonable way to do your business. But again, I think if you're a YouTuber or you're whoever you might be, and you're going, it sounds pretty much the same to me, a minimum order amount, dollar amount from a distributor versus you have to buy a certain number of specific comics. I don't know what to tell you. That becomes one of those we part as reasonable people. There's just no way we're not going to be on the same page. That's like if you came to me and said, hey, apples and broccoli are meat. I'm like, they're not though. Not at all. But if you want to call them that, you can, but you're wrong. I guess that's the best way to put it. There's a lot of subjective things in comics, like, hey, Batman is great, or Batman is terrible, or there's too much Joker, or there's not enough Joker. All subjective. But there's no world in which you're forced to buy Captain Marvel. Okay, you're not. Now somebody says, but wait a minute, hold on. What are these incentive programs? What is it that says that you as a shop have to order 50 copies of Captain Marvel to get the one variant cover that is the 1 in 1,000 variant cover, super special? We've got a really amazing Peach Momoko cover, and that's not fair. You should be able to just order the variant at some price. You shouldn't have to buy one type of comic to get another type of comic. And you know what? I agree with you that I think that's a not a helpful practice. I don't think that helps. Now, obviously, the publishers think it does because they keep doing it. And the reason they keep doing it is because comic shops keep ordering it. Now, the comic shop's not forced to do this, and they're really not forced to do this. This is where, again, it's another one of those what do you believe kind of things. Comic shops do not have to carry variants. There are several shops who don't. They refuse it out of principle, and that's fine. But here's the thing. There are customers, there are fans who want variants. They show up to the shop, and they want those variants. As a shop, you are making a choice, and the choice you're making are, do I want to have this person's business, or do I want to send them somewhere else? And it's really as simple as that. It's A or B. And if you want their business, then you're going to have to get those variants. And if you're going to get those variants, then you're going to play by the rules of the company that's making those variants. And I think that it's a destructive practice. And I say that because plenty of evidence that suggests that the variant game is a law of diminishing returns for the publisher, that the incentive programs are harmful. And I'll give you an example of that. If you, for example, say, hey, you need to order 150% of your normal order of Captain Marvel in order to qualify for War of the Realms variant cover, what's going to happen is that shop is going to do a little bit of math. They're going to sit down, they're going to go, well, I'm getting that variant cover, and I can sell that variant cover for $75. And the cost of an additional 25 issues of Captain Marvel is less than $75 to me. So therefore, I will go ahead and order these comics knowing I can't sell them because I'm going to be in the black when all is said and done. That's the equation that comic retailers do all the time. That's the game they're playing. And so if you've ever gone into a shop, and by the way, I had a conversation with a guy who's really complaining about this stack of Captain Marvel that was on the shelf. And he's like, I go, but why did you order so many of them? You are in control of that. Why'd you order so many? I mean, I agree with you. This is not going to sell. You got like 100 copies of Captain Marvel. You're going to sell 10 of those. You're not going to sell 90 of your comics. Why would you do that? And it's like, well, I need to get the variant covers. And I go, okay, then you made a choice, and granted, it's sad that those comics are there. And granted, I do think it's business unfriendly for the publisher to do this. But here's what the publisher is thinking. And I'm telling you whether you think this is sane or insane, it's up to you. But the publisher is thinking, hey, if I just get more copies of Captain Marvel into that shop, then readers will one day go, you know what, I should be buying Captain Marvel. That's how they think. And so they put these programs in place thinking that somebody will see that copy of Captain Marvel. They weren't previously going to buy it, and they're going to buy it, and then they're going to come in the next month. They're going to keep buying it. That's their hope. That's what they think is going to happen. Now, I think there's endless evidence that that does not work. I think that strategy is a bad one. And so I think it ultimately erodes the title. I think it sticks comic shops with things they don't want. And I think it makes everybody unhappy. I think the goal should be the publisher should be trying to get more things to the comic shop that will sell, that the publisher, the retailer actually wants to sell, that they know they can. That would be the best of all outcomes. And here's why I think it's absolutely evidence that it's a failure. Are you watching those numbers videos that I've done? Did you see the Captain Marvel one? Okay, most of those number one issues that were higher. Did you notice that they were higher? The number one issue always like double the second issue. Why was that the case? Because they had an incentive program going on with a bunch of variants. So either you had to buy that comic in order to get a variant of a different comic, or you had to buy that comic in a higher percentage to get, the special variant. By the way, one of those Captain Marvel comics had a variant cover with Captain Marvel in like her legacy swimsuit kind of costume, looking sexy, and there were people who hate current Captain Marvel who wanted that variant cover because they wanted the sexy, ass hanging out Captain Marvel. That's what they wanted. And so they went to their comic shop and said, I'm willing to pay $50 for Captain Marvel because I hate Captain Marvel, but I want that sexy, nice cover of sexy Captain Marvel. That's what I want. And so the comic shop then proceeds to buy, 5x the Captain Marvel that they would normally order because of boring old Captain Marvel in order to give somebody the sexy swimsuit cover who actually hates the character. Does this make sense? This makes my head hurt just talking about this. I mean, it's all insane. But the way you could tell it's a failure is if you look at issue 2, what happens? When there aren't variant covers and when the retailer isn't forced to buy, I say forced loosely, when the retailer isn't needing to buy extra copies in order to qualify for some kind of cover, when that stuff all goes away and suddenly it's like, order what you think you can sell, what happens? Hey, suddenly 135,000 issue 1 goes down to 32,000 copies. How in the world could that happen? Because 32,000 copies is actually what the retail shop believes they can sell. And the retailer knows this. Everybody knows this game. And the retailer goes, okay, I can sell this amount, and so this is what I'll order, and I guess I'll just have a lot of extra number one issues because I want those variants and I can sell them because it all works out for me from a profit perspective. But it's just putting a lot of junk out on the stands. That's why it's a dumb practice, because it's putting unsellable nonsense out there that fakely, you're printing stuff that nobody's actually going to read. It's a waste. Here, I'll take it from this angle. You're killing the environment, man. You're killing trees. Stop killing trees. You're deliberately, you're creating a program that are going to cause people to overorder. The comic is not going to sell. And then, you're just doing this to just move money around, but none of this makes any sense. Nobody is winning in this scenario. That's the problem with this program. But again, the retailer is not forced. And no, some people come in and goes, this is all part of the SJW political conspiracy, wokeification of America. This isn't a politics thing. I promise it's not. Now you can make the argument, and I'm not going to debate it here today, but you can make the argument the interior of the comics, that the storylines and everything else are trying to push an agenda. Fine. You can say that, Captain Marvel being a feminist icon is pushing an agenda. That's fine too. But the stuff we're talking about here is about sheer numbers of variant covers and over ordering. And one last thing I just will throw in here, because I think there's some misunderstanding about this too. People will say this is all just so Marvel can claim they're the number one publisher and that Captain Marvel sold the most copies this month. Now, I grant you, you are correct. Marvel does like to say those things, and they put out that PR and everything else, and they'll talk about it. But nobody is buying this. Nobody. Seriously, nobody. It's laughable, because even in USA Today, during one of the more recent ones, it was embarrassing. I think it was the Kelly Thompson, the relaunch of Captain Marvel. If you look at that article, they talk about how it was a number one selling title that month, but then it also says, but much of that can be attributed to variant covers. Like, even the media that are on their side, kind of promoting these things, is in on this. Nobody's buying this. Nobody. I every now and then somebody puts a comment out that says, this is all just a scam and a trick, so that Marvel can trick, shops into thinking this is a popular character. No, I promise you, nobody is tricked. Everybody knows. Everybody knows the unit ship game. There's no illusions. And how do I know this for 100% sure? Because if the retailers were truly conned into believing that this was the most popular comic in the world, why then did all the retailers, when they weren't, when there was no variant in play, why did they take their orders from 135,000 down to 30,000? Why would they do that? If it's the most popular comic in the world from issue 1 to issue 2, keep in mind, by the time you're placing your order for issue 2, you don't know how issue 1's going to do. You don't get those sales figures until you're placing the orders for issue 3 or 4. It's down the road. So issue 2 is a great way to tell what the retailers actually believe of this title. And when you see things go in half, right there, no retailer is conned by this idea that this comic is selling all these copies. No. Again, the whole unit sale, share dollar sale. I mean, everybody knows their game in that system. And yes, you're absolutely right if you made the point that the overships count toward units shipped. Yes. Has Marvel done that in the past to basically make sure that they beat DC in the head-to-head that month, because it was getting kind of close, and then suddenly Marvel just overships the hell out of like a ton of comics, and suddenly they're winning in unit share? Yeah, that's exactly what Marvel's doing. Or is there some kind of, frankly, small penis syndrome going on there where they really want to be number one? I mean, I guess so, but there is no award. They don't get to take home a little trophy. There's no, check that Diamond sends them for being the number one, and nobody buys it anyway. Nobody cares. Like the biggest con. I want to meet somebody, because I've talked to now, as you've heard, a number of creators, writers, and artists. I've talked to editors. So far, I've met 0 people who take any stock in that number, in that unit ship dollar. Nobody gives a shit about that. I'm sure somebody does. I'm sure some person at Marvel or DC does. I want to meet that person. Who is the person who still believes that number holds any value or any merit whatsoever? I want to meet that person. That's my next interview. All of you will be super bored, but it'll be the happiest day for me. I'll just be all in on that. I'm like, oh, thank God I'm talking to the vice president of distribution and it's just, I'm going to be so happy that day, and everybody's going to be like, what the hell is Perch talking about? Why is he so excited about this boring interview with this stiff? Like what is this about? I want to know. I want to know what person gives a damn about these numbers, because nobody does. So I say this to the people who show up in the comments from time to time, and they want to say, hey, don't you realize this is a trick? And I want to tell you all right now, yes, I do. We all do. Everybody knows this is a trick. It has no merit on anything. There are lots of crappy practices. This is a goofy, crappy practice, but it is one everybody is going into willingly. Like I said, my advice to other retailers: unhook yourself from the variant scam. I know that part of the concern is you have whales who really want the variants, and if you send them away, they'll take all their whale business somewhere else. Okay. I think you should sit down with that whale. You probably have a good relationship with them already, and just lay it out for them and say, hey, here's what's going on. Show them the math. Show them like, hey, here's what they're doing. You want that Peach Momoko cover? I've got to buy 50 extra copies of Captain Marvel. That sucks, right? And just let them know. Say, you know what? I'm trying to keep my business afloat. I don't want to be part of this. I don't want to send you away. Can I order it for you? I'll go find it from another shop and I'll get it for you. But don't, please keep your business with me. But I can't be on this crazy train with the publishers anymore. Just be honest with them. Your whales will understand. They absolutely will understand. And frankly, and then for the other fans, when you see that giant stack of comics there, and you're like, why in the hell did this shop order 50 extra copies of Iceman? Now you know. They were trying to get a variant for some whale, or Marvel sent them those copies as an overship for free, minus shipping. And for some reason, that shop decided to put them all up on the shelf for no reason. That's what's going on there. So anyway, I hope this answers some questions. I get heated on this topic because it's such a stupid one for everybody. Like this is stupid. Please take away from this. Nobody cares about unit percentages anymore. Nobody. And yes, are they all? Is it all fictional fuzzy math? Yes. And now that we're not even getting really accurate numbers from Comic-Con, it's even more fuzzy. It's all just a big scam at this point. So anyway, there you go. I'm getting all animated about shipping. What are you going to do? Hey, let me know if you have any questions. Some guy's going to be like, so can you explain overships in the comments? And I'm just going to my brain will melt because I'll have forgotten the content of this video and I'll put it up and I'll just see that one come across me and I'm like, God damn it. Anyway, thanks for listening. Thanks for support of the channel.